Manchester United have held talks about the possibility of bringing Thomas Tuchel and Zerbi in as the next Manchester United managers. We're delving into that story. We're also going to take a big look at the situation with Julián Álvarez. City willing to let him go, but on very specific conditions. Chelsea's offer is going to come in. Arsenal fans are stating they should be looking at him. PSG about to officially make a move as well. We're going to look at some of these stories, some from Fabrizio, some from other journalists. But hit the like button, subscribe. Make sure you're joining our transfer group chat. Let's go. Fabrizio Romano tells us here that United discussed Thomas Tuchel internally this week. And this story comes out 10 hours, 12 hours after a number of very credible media outlets state that Gareth Southgate is the number one target of Manchester United. I know some very credible journalists who have stated they have been told by sources that Southgate is the number one target. But I've also spoke to journalists who believe Tuchel is, some that believe Poch now is, and many others that believe Zerbi is. There was also a report yesterday that came out here from Alexis Bernard that Man United have taken very concrete steps with Roberto Zerbi. And what I find really interesting about both these stories, and we'll break down the managers in a few moments, is everybody knows I don't want Gareth Southgate. Subjectively, I don't want him. Objectively, I'm going to wait and see what the new Man United ownership are cooking. I'm not going to go off the deep end if we get him. Equally, if we get a manager I like, I'm not going to suddenly start going crazy as though we're back and going to start challenging straight away, because I believe there's going to be peaks and troughs and trials and tribulations along the way. And I want to try and remain as level-headed as possible. But when it comes to Thomas Tuchel, I'm not his biggest fan. I understand he's got a very good CV. He's won Champions Leagues. He's won Bundesligas. He's won the League A. He did very well at times with Chelsea here in England. I think he's a superior club manager, for instance, to Gareth Southgate. Stylistically, I have a bit of an issue. That's personal, of course, to me. I worry and have concerns about the relationships that he has with boards and how he's fallen out with people. We need someone that isn't as sort of, so what I'm looking for, combustible would be the word I would use. But at the same time, maybe the relationship with our board would be different if he gets what he wants and we get what we want. I'm not over the moon about it. I'm much happier than if it was Southgate. But again, I'm sticking to my sort of principles on this one. I'll remain objectively supportive. When it comes to Zerbi, that excites me a lot more because I think the style of play is more what I want to see from Manchester United. Again, that's personal. I understand the question marks over him, but I believe that's more to do with the way Brighton sell their best players as part of their model. There is definitely a question mark over the control element of transfers because of the way he left Brighton, but more about that should be revealed. So there's definitely question marks there. So again, subjectively, I'm happier with him being appointed if it was to happen, but I'm going to remain objectively supportive and understand there are ups and downs and there are people that criticize him as well. What I'm liking about this situation is, though, my genuine, by the way, and some of these journalists will end up being right because one of these managers will end up managing Man United or Ten Hag stays, and then maybe they're all wrong. But I kind of like the fact that nobody really knows. Normally with Man United, there is this general consensus about what's going on, who the next manager is going to be, what players being sold, what players coming in. I kind of like the guessing game because it tells me there isn't as much information coming out of the club, or we're controlling the information that comes out of the club. Now, I've seen people online. It's so funny. Like, some say this is great. Some say this is awful business. I tend to think this is better for us, but that's just my initial gut feeling. I'd love to know what you think and feel. United fans, are you happier with these links than the Southgate one? And rivals, where do you think this managerial situation is going to end up going? Let us know in the comments section below. Now, Fabrizio Romano has also told us here that PSG have had direct discussions with Julián Álvarez's agent about a potential move. We also know, coming out of Argentina, that Chelsea are also interested in the individual. What I find amazing is the English clubs are so, all of them, every single one of them, so desperate to not have bad PR, so desperate to not be seen as a team that was rejected. It's the Argentina media that know that Chelsea are involved because they don't have any loyalty to Chelsea. I feel like some of the European and the British media, Chelsea haven't done nothing yet. I'm not too sure if Chelsea are involved because Chelsea are briefing them, tell them we're not that involved yet. And that's because they want Alvarez, it's clear, but they may not get him. And no club likes to look like they got rejected. I think it's a real weird way to go. Man United do it, so I'm not pointing fingers at Chelsea individually here, but they are also in for them. And what's really interesting that Fabrizio also shared is that Man City have no intention to accept any loan move for Julián Álvarez. They want big money to sell. The Argentine wants more minutes and will have to request to the club that he wants to leave clearly before they consider a sale, which kind of marries up with a lot of what I thought was going on here. Not because I'm in the know, just because you read the story, you look at the situation, and it all makes sense. Alvarez is the top talent, and if Chelsea are to get him, he would be an absolute phenomenal piece of business for him. I really think he's a top-class player who needs more game time, who deserves more game time. I understand why he might want to leave City. He ain't playing regularly. That's not a dig at Man City. It's just the reality of the situation that the player finds himself in. What's difficult for Chelsea is, I would assume, this is an assumption, that City would be more willing to sell abroad because then he doesn't come back to bite you in the backside domestically, which is more likely than in Europe because you play Chelsea more regularly. Chelsea are also not in the Champions League. PSG are. You could argue PSG are a little bit more stable than Chelsea are right now as well. But Chelsea have a habit of doing Chelsea things, and they're in this race. There's no doubt about it. They're in this race. They're a London-based club. They're in the best league in the world. And maybe there's a part of Alvarez that says, I want to prove I can do it here. I want to do a little bit of a Cole Palmer. And ironically, that's with Chelsea, but I want to do a Cole Palmer. I want to show that I am a Premier League player and I can cut it here at the very, very top. Now, some of you may be wondering why in the title of this video, I speak about Arsenal hijacking the Julián Álvarez deal. And that's because I think they should. Now, let me just premise that by saying I'm not sure if Man City would sell to them. I'm very, very aware of that because Manchester City, there was a rumor. There was a rumor last season before last after Jesus and Zinchenko, who started very well at Arsenal, that City wouldn't sell any more players to Arsenal. And I don't think that's necessarily because those players did well. I think it's because Arsenal started to challenge them for their title. So that's the stumbling block for Arsenal. But I think Arsenal should be in on this deal. I understand they're looking at Benjamin Sesko and he's going to be cheaper. But I look at Julián Álvarez at 24 years of age. He ain't a baby. He's such a brilliant age. He's going to be 25 next season. He's got his entire career ahead of him. Technically on the ball, he's out of this world. Good physicality. A decent finisher. Give him more chances. Create him more chances. Give him more minutes, and he will deliver. They may not get him, Arsenal. And maybe this is the problem is with clubs, the PR, and rejected, or Chelsea got him over us. They should be doing everything in their power, Arsenal, to stop Chelsea from getting this player. One, he improves them directly. And two, it stops Chelsea getting better. Arsenal should be looking to hijack this deal. Arsenal should be looking to get involved because he can play as a striker, but he's got that versatility where he can drop a little bit deeper. He can move out onto that right. I just think he's a better version of Gabriel Jesus, who they clearly wanted and he's made them a better team. He just can't stay fit and score enough goals. I think this is a better version. And I know they're linked to Benjamin Sesko that I already rate. I think Sesko is amazing. I think he's brilliant. I think he's a better version up front than what Kai Havertz is. But you've got the Kai Havertz profile. Maybe you go for the better version of Gabriel Jesus, who was meant to be keeping Kai Havertz on the bench in the first place. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm speaking out of turn here. Gooners, let me know. But I think it's something that you should genuinely be looking at doing, hijacking this deal and stopping Chelsea from getting it done. It's going to cost big money. You're probably looking at 80 odd million pounds or more. But I think it would be an investment well worthwhile. Viewers, as ever, big respect from me. Hit the like button. Please subscribe. And we'll see you all again very, very soon. Peace.